Welcome to Falls Count Anywhere, where the wrestling ring meets the heart. Hosted by the gentleman Jody Powell, join us as we dive into the latest pro wrestling news and rumors, from the electrifying world of WWE to the inspiring stories of wrestling for Christ. This is your all-access pass to the action, the faith, and the hope. This is Falls Count Anywhere.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Falls Count Anywhere. I am your host, the gentleman Jody Powell, and with me back this week, live from the Buchanan Laboratories, the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Jody. I want to take just a moment to thank all the fans for their prayers and support for me and my wife, Darlene, last week. It really made a difference.
Well, you know you've got the prayers, you know you got the support, but my question to you this week is what's going on in the lab, man?
Well, you know, I am waiting probably for another week for the results of this wonderful spinal tap. By the way, don't recommend it. Not really painful in my case, and I believe that was the effect of the prayers, to be totally honest. But it is an annoyance. And the worst part for me, in all honesty, is waiting on the results.
Mm-hmm.
My legendary patience is neither. It is not legendary and it is not patience. So to that end, I'm working on a way to try and speed up test results.
Okay.
We have at-home pregnancy results. We have at-home COVID tests. So I'm working on something that, at least in the hospital, they can do the test quicker. Maybe not at home, but at least quicker in the hospital somehow.
I was going to ask, are you talking about an at-home spinal tap?
Well, like we used to tell the kids on TV shows, don't try this at home. So,
yeah, I think that's fair. Like you might want to put that on the box. Well, listen, we are excited that you are back, and you know what we're going to do. And fans, if you'll join me in this, we're going to pray you all the way through the end of the results, and we're going to pray for those results to come back quickly, so that your legendary patients can be neither yet satisfied. So we're going to do that, and we'll work through the results, and then it's on to bigger, better things, my friend.
Let's hope so.
Absolutely. Well, what do you say we get started with a little WWE discussion? We had, of course, we are now past Crown Jewel. That was Saturday. This is Monday. It's November, and we're headed towards Survivor Series. And let's talk a little bit about what we think we can expect come Survivor Series, but it's Survivor Series with a twist, buddy.
Yeah, an unnecessary twist. Kind of like the doctor sticks that needle in your back and sneezes. It's a twist that nobody really wants.
Oh.
But Jody, you told me that this nonsense has been going on for 3 years. I honestly hadn't thought about it till you brought it up. Survivor Series and War Games?
Survivor Series War Games. And, you know, and I said this to you earlier, and I thought you were going to come through the camera and put me in the Weaver lock or something, or the Cobra Clutch. Because, growing up, War Games just wasn't my thing. I didn't like it. I didn't get it. Obviously War Games was, the cell before the cell, right? It was the enclosed cage and had the roof and even though the roof was only like 9 feet tall and they were like hit them. I remember, I don't know if it was Sting or somebody was gorilla pressing someone and hitting them on the roof of the cage before they did the body slam. I forget who that was, but it had to be Flair that was being put into the cage. But a little bit of a smaller version of the cell. But here's what I don't understand about War Games. 2 rings. What are the 2 rings for? Why do we need 2 wrestling rings? It's too much, man. I can't keep up with everything.
Spread out the action.
I don't need it spread out. I need it all in one shot. I don't need it spread out. I don't need who's in ring 1 and who's in ring 2. And I didn't like it.
That's because you weren't there on the floor, man. I was never there either, but
that's probably true.
My thought process is it brings more people closer to the action.
I'm sure it's an incredible spectacle to see in person. I have no doubt. But when I punch in the old password to the Peacock Network on November 30th, and that's about the only time that I do that. And pull up the old Survivor Series, and I'm having to go back and forth between the two rings. And of course, I'm sure, and this is one of the predictions, I'm sure we're going to get Bloodline v Bloodline as the OTC. Yeah, original tribal chief. Make sure I got my letters right there. I'm sure we're going to have the Roman Reigns Uso fourth partner versus Solo and the Tungans and Jacob Fatu. I have no doubt that's what's going to be the War Games.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the fourth man?
Rikishi. That's what the interwebs say. You can always believe what's on the interwebs.
Oh boy. All due respect to Rikishi. I enjoyed Rikishi in his prime, all 6 months of it. But let's let the geriatric Rikishi stay behind the scenes. I don't need to see Rikishi, especially in War Games. No. Let's not do that. You know who I want? The honorary Uso, Sami Zayn. I mean, if you're going to get the band back together, which we saw Jay and Jimmy reunite, and Roman was looking on, and the band's back together, I guess, unless something happened on SmackDown, which I haven't seen yet. But if we're gonna get the band back together, brother, let's get all the members of the band back together. Let's bring back the honorary Uso, the one that made this storyline go from something interesting to something incredible. Took it viral. That was Sami Zayn. I need to have some Usiness going on.
Well, I know you've also expressed a desire to see the Wise Man come back.
It's not the same without him. It's just not. And I would love to see, and again, I haven't seen SmackDown yet. At the time of we're taping Falls Count Anywhere, maybe he comes back on SmackDown. I don't know. Maybe he came back Friday. I don't know. Maybe he came back at Crown Jewel. I don't know. Because in our time, it hasn't happened yet, Marty McFly. But if they're going to bring back the Wise Man, bring him back a few shows before the main show so that he can interrupt. My name is Paul. Like, bring him back on SmackDown, bring him back on Raw, let him interrupt, let him do what he does best, work the mic. Don't bring him back during the PL. Don't bring him back during War Games. That he's not going to be able to build the story. He's not going to be able to tell the story, man.
What if they did this? They've been having the Usos come out from under the ring
with the hoodies. Yeah, yeah. You want the Walrus to come out from under the ring? I can see him rolling out under the ring, struggling to get to his feet. Listen, I feel that.
Not under. Somebody comes up through the ring ahead of him.
Oh, you thinking of Beast?
Yeah. Brock Lesnar comes up through the ring, middle of the War Games, causes just enough chaos that the referee has no choice but makes an exception in a War Games match and declares a double DQ, a double whatever. There's no clear winner. Brock cleans house because apparently in WWE, any one person can knock out 19 of the top wrestlers right now. See Damian Priest for one, Roman Reigns for another, which is my favorite thing to do, is see one man knock out your top people at one time. And then out from under comes Paul Lee and says, I'm back. You make that your title or your main event, and then you cut to black.
But who does he come back for?
That's what I'm saying. You cut to black after Brock's destroyed everybody.
So Brock just takes them all out.
And then you open Raw with Paul Lee and Brock, or not Paul Lee.
Yeah, Paulie. I mean, he can bring back Paulie Dangerous and bring back the brick phone.
I said that a couple weeks ago. I think that would be a great idea.
Interesting thoughts there. I think, and the one person I think we won't see is The Rock, His schedule is not going to allow him to be involved with WWE, I don't think, until the first of the year, which sets up for the Royal Rumble. Could we see Rock win the Royal Rumble to take on Cody at WrestleMania? Or you had a different idea?
Yeah, I had Rock winning the Rumble. Not winning the Rumble. I'm sorry. A separate match. Rock and Rhodes. Rock wins the belt. Rematch at Mania.
Yeah. Interesting thoughts there. If it went that way, let's just say for a second, Rock Rhodes at Royal Rumble. It's a lot of R's. And Rock takes the belt. You know who I'm winning? You know I have winning the Royal Rumble?
Tell me.
The retirement tour begins.
Oh, geez.
John Cena, baby.
We'll have to wait and find out.
But he wouldn't go after The Rock. See, because at WrestleMania, we're getting Rock and Rhodes. I mean, whether it happens at the Rumble or not. We're getting The Rock. We're getting Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. It's going to happen. But if Cena were to come back and actually win the Royal Rumble to kick off his retirement tour, doesn't mean that he can't go after Gunther or whoever is the world heavyweight champion on Raw. That'll be interesting to see. A lot of possibilities, man. A lot of things coming up, coming down the pipe with the Bloodline, with The Rock, with John Cena's retirement tour, and there's a lot of other things we didn't get to. But fans, right after this break, what we're going to come back with is a little Wrestling for Christ. So stick around. We'll be back right after these messages. Hello, wrestling fans. The Gentleman Jody Powell here. Are you searching for an engaging speaker for your next church event, civic meeting, industry conference, or a company-wide motivational session? Well, look no further. I'd be honored to bring energy, insight, and inspiration to your event. With experience as a 2022 Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking semifinalist, I know how to connect with audiences, both large and small. Whether it's an intimate gathering or a packed auditorium, I'll deliver a memorable and impactful message tailored to your needs. Visit today at www.jodypowellspeaks.com to explore my keynotes, talks, and trainings. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Book me today. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back, fans, to Falls Count Anywhere. And as with me, let me just start that over real quick because that was brutal. Welcome back, fans, to Falls Count Anywhere. And Mike, what do you say we jump into some news from Wrestling for Christ? Because last week's Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour, we heard a lot of things coming out of that, including a little bit of a concern for Sir Charles Humperdinck. Now, as fans, you may remember, Sir Charles was filmed or caught on camera hanging around the alley the night that AWOL was attacked, leading a lot of people, including AWOL number one, to speculate that maybe the Conquerors, Kenny Austin and Chris Thunder Anderson, had something to do with the attack, because Sir Charles, of course, manages the Conquerors. Well, we were supposed to have an exclusive interview with Sir Charles last Saturday night. Mike, he was a no-show. All we got was an empty chair at the Humperdinck Ranch, which is a little concerning because, quite frankly, to this date, I've not been able to make contact with Sir Charles Humperdinck.
You know, it's too bad Leonard Nimoy is no longer with us. You can send him on an In Search Of. Maybe he might be able to find him.
You know, I Leonard Nimoy or, the Hardy Boys.
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, the Hardy Boys from the books, not Matt and Jeff.
No, Matt and Jeff, we won't talk about it, but they would never come close to finding anyone.
No, too many distractions on the road, apparently. Anyway, I digress from that. But yeah, so a little bit of concern. Hopefully, Sir Charles, if you're out there, hopefully you're okay. Hopefully, AWOL has not violated the decree of the new commissioner of the WFC to not lay a finger on Sir Charles, and that That came a couple of weeks ago. But a couple of other things that we found out Saturday night, Mike, is that there are 2 more entries into the 16-man television turmoil tournament for the briefcase. And as I said on the show, it doesn't really shake. There's nothing rattling around. It is kind of heavy. I don't know what's in it. But 2 more men are entered into the tournament to find out. And those 2 men, Mad Dog Nathan Sawyer and Big Dan Holman, who both won Impress Me matches, as the commissioner sanctioned those matches last Saturday night, say, impress me. And so Big Dan able to knock off the Hornet, and the Mad Dog, Nathan Sawyer, picking up a victory over Dre White. So that'll be an interesting turn of events. And here's the thing, Mike. Next week on Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour, we're going to have the entire field, all 16 men revealed, and with brackets for the 16-man television turmoil tournament. So finally, we'll get to see who's going against who in round 1. You can start filling out your brackets just like you do in March, man.
March Mania, and what is this, November?
It's in November. Here's the thing. We're going to have brackets. We don't even know when this tournament's going to take place because, again, this mysterious commissioner of the WFC, no one knows who this person is, continues to be very cryptic and very deliberate. And the amount of information that is released from the commissioner's office, we don't even have dates yet for this tournament. But apparently, we're going to have all 16 men lined up, ready to go in brackets next week on Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour. This coming Saturday night, Abundant TV at 6 p.m. Don't miss it. And if you do, you can watch it next Thursday night at 9 p.m. But why would you miss it? I mean, come on.
Really?
Seriously.
I mean, what do you have to do? Watch some boring football thing? Let me spoil your football for you. Your favorite team lost and the other team won. Sorry. Grab a sweet tea, sit back and relax, and better luck next week.
Story of my life. But another interesting Saturday night Praise and Power Hour match. In the main event, we saw a number 1 contenders match for the World Tag Team titles, Mike, as the Conquerors, those are in question of possibly injuring AWOL. We're looking for a smooth path all the way to the titles. What they didn't count on was perfect vision. Zachariah Cutter and John Matthews stepping in the way, and in this number one contenders match, perfect vision, able to gain the victory and earn their shot at the WFC World Tag Team titles held by the Foundation. So I don't know what's going to happen there. What are your predictions, Mike, from Zachariah Cutter, John Matthews versus the Foundation, Travis Roberts and Dylan Dollar? That's going to be coming up soon.
Well, I think that both of those teams have a tendency to play more by the rules. And I think what you'll end up having is, because of the size difference with Cutter and Matthews, they're going to move off of their foundation, no pun intended, and maybe try and break a rule or two. And that's when that'll be their undoing. And so I don't think that they're quite ready to be champions.
Okay.
So I don't think that even if they make it that, well, obviously they'll make it that far, but I just don't think they're ready for the belts.
So interesting. It's Zachariah Cutter has always been one who has fought with his heart. Is his greatest weapon. Just a guy that's always been, the little guy in the ring. He's always been outsized. He's always been outpowered, and yet he always seems to come out on top because his heart is bigger than anyone else in the whole in the entire organization. John Matthews is a little bit of an enigma. Of course, he and Zach used to team together years ago, and that's why John Matthews came out several weeks back to make the save for his former partner. And since then, John Matthews and Zach Cutter, you're exactly right. They've been abiding by the rules, man. Their chemistry in the ring, it's like they haven't missed a beat. They have been on fire, hitting combo moves, hitting double teams, The way that they won that match, where a Donnybrook broke out, all four men in the ring, and Zachariah Cutter hitting that tilt-a-whirl DDT on Kenny Austin to pick up the win. But it was John Matthews that was holding Chris Thunder Anderson back from breaking up that pin. So their chemistry is there. All the intangibles of a tag team are there. But they're taking on the Foundation. These guys have been tagging together for years, multiple-time tag team champions. I think I'm tending to lean your way as well, Mike. I don't think they're going to be able to knock off the Foundation. I think the Foundation will retain the World Tag Team titles when they face Perfect Vision, but it's going to be an incredible match.
Probably so. Here's one last thought from my old friend Larry Zbyszko. For every time they've won those titles, they've lost them.
That's exactly right. You can't be a 16-time world champion without losing 15 times.
That's right.
Good old Larry Zbyszko. Well, fans, we'll be back right after these messages with a wonderful Finding Tomorrow segment. Stay tuned. Oh, hello, wrestling fans. The gentleman Jody Powell here. And I can't tell you how much I love this devotional written by my partner on Falls Count Anywhere, the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan. He wrote this book called Feeling Down, Look Up. You want to get your copy today? It's on Amazon. So you're going to want to search for Feeling Down, Look Up by Mike Buchanan. And it's got verses, it's got stories, it's even got a place to make notes. It's fantastic. You'll thank me later.
Well, welcome back, fans, to our Finding Tomorrow segment of the show. As you're watching this, if you're watching it on our normal time on Monday evening, it is the evening before the election. And I'm not one, outside of the wrestling stuff we do, but when it comes to this part, I'm not one for hyperbole. Well, before I say anything else, I do need to let you know that it is possible that the views you're about to hear on certain subjects here are not the views of Abundant TV. So just FYI. But the election tomorrow is probably the most important election that any of us will ever see. The results could be nation-changing. So we just want to take a moment to talk about those. It is your duty as a Christian to vote. It is your privilege as an American to vote. One vote will save unborn pre-birth children's lives. One vote will protect Israel. They're actually the same vote. Do what you feel the Lord is leading you to do. And then, Jody, I believe you're looking at some verses about God's kingship before we came back out of break.
Yeah, Mike, as we think about the election, and this has been such a polarizing time, the thing that I want to remind everyone is this: at the end of the day, whoever has been elected come tomorrow, God knew that well before any of us. God's in control. Not only is he in control, but we can elect a president. Other countries can nominate kings or vote in prime ministers or whatever those other countries do. But here's the reality. Here's the truth. I'm going to spitfire 8 Bible verses that I want you to hear. Psalms 47:7, for God is the king of all the earth. Sing to him a psalm of praise. Psalm 24:10, who is he? This king of glory, the Lord Almighty. He is the King of glory. Psalms 95:3, for the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods. Isaiah 33:22, for the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. It is he who will save us. 1 Timothy 1:17, now to the King, eternal, immortal, invisible, the only God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen. Revelations 19:16, on his robe and on his thigh he has the name written, King of kings and Lord of lords. Zechariah 14:9, the Lord will be king over the whole earth. On that day, there will be one Lord, and his name, the only one. Psalms 145:1, I will exalt you, my God, the King. I will praise your name forever and ever. It doesn't matter in the end of the day, at the end times, as we go through this world, who people leaders are, because God is king and God is in control. And God knew exactly how this election was going to turn out. So if it doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to, if the person that you voted for, that you felt led to vote for, doesn't win, whoever that is, take heart, because you don't have to wait and see who the king of the world is, because that was written long before any of us ever took a breath on this earth.
And Jody, that's a great way to move into the real hope for finding tomorrow. You know, if you've listened to us at all, you know I'm a huge fan and supporter of Israel. Israel is a living, breathing example of God's fulfilling his prophecies. You know, when Jesus came to earth, he fulfilled more than 100 specific prophecies. The odds of any one man doing that are ridiculous. If you want to know more details, you can email me. Jody will put up an email at the end of the show. But let's just say it wasn't by chance. And if you're wondering, well, if that's good, if the Lord did that with Jesus 2,000 years ago, but what about me? What about now? Let's jump ahead. And I believe it's Isaiah 60 or 66, one of those two chapters. The Lord said that there was going to be a nation born in one day. And he was talking about Israel. And on May 14th, 1948, the only time that I'm aware of that the United Nations ever did anything useful, they signed a bill or whatever they signed, and Israel was created in one day. No other nation's ever done that. Certainly not after 2,000 years of being dispersed throughout the nations. Ezekiel 37, God showed the prophet Ezekiel a valley of dry bones and said, "Who are these?" And Ezekiel said, "Lord, you know." In other words, Ezekiel said, "I don't know. I'm not that smart." And God said, "These dry bones are going to come alive." And in 1942-ish, 1939 actually to 1945-ish, Hitler unleashed that Holocaust in Europe. And the survivors, when they found them, y'all, look it up, not to be gross, but look it up. The survivors of those concentration camps, they were skeletons.
Yeah.
Those Jews went back to Israel. God kept his promises regarding Jesus. God kept his promises concerning Israel. 2024, God will keep his promises concerning you for the election and everything else.
Well, it's true, Mike, and it's and I love that you added that last part, everything else, because we all have a story, we all have things that we're battling, we all have things that we're facing, whether or not we even know them. I believe that a lot of times that we are caught up in this other world, other realm battle between God and Satan. We are pawns in these. We are foot soldiers in these battles, and sometimes we don't even know it. But God promises to be faithful. God is your king. We know how the story ends. God wins. And so it's just simply a choice of, do you want to be on the winning team or do you not? And that's what it comes down to. God's team wins in the end. And that's a promise that's been made. And so far, all of the promises that have been made, that have been fulfilled, it's a perfect record. There's not been one that's been broken.
And that record won't end.
That's right.
Just to flip it back to wrestling for a minute, Goldberg eventually lost. God's not going to lose.
We hope you find comfort in these words, and we hope the Lord blesses you and you find tomorrow and find those promises that God has laid out for you. And right now, fans, we want you to stay tuned, because coming up, Jeff Dixon, Chris Whaley, The Clash on Abundant TV. Stay tuned.